This morning, Wall Street rebounds, clawing back much of yesterday's loss. But can it be sustained? President Bush says Congress must agree on a bailout package or else.
If our nation continues on this course, the economic damage will be painful and lasting.
And an out-of-control car leaves a top student athlete dead, another fighting for life.
This is 7 Morning News with Ann Sanders.
Hello, welcome to 7's Morning News on a somewhat happier day for investors. Wall Street rebounded, clawing back much of yesterday's losses on hopes a bailout compromise can be found. President Bush says he's working on it, but he's warned America is still in dire straits.
A day after a train wreck at the intersection of politics and Wall Street, cooler heads seem to prevail. The Dow rebounded, closing up 485, erasing much of Monday's historic drop. The day started with President Bush urging Congress to try again.
I assure our citizens and citizens around the world that this is not the end of the legislative process.
While on Capitol Hill,
we're not going to sit around and point fingers. We're going to get the job done, and we're going to get it done this week.
Democrats and Republicans were looking for common ground. The final vote yesterday, 140 Democrats and 65 Republicans voted for the rescue package, while 95 Democrats and 133 Republicans voted against it. What could break the deadlock? Some say an accounting rule change that would give financial firms more latitude in valuing their assets. Not supported by many accountants, but pushed by Republicans and a former FDIC chairman.
Why are we taking $500 billion of losses in the financial system? Only because of the accounting rule. This is a manufactured crisis.
Meanwhile, the FDIC today moved to shore up confidence in the banking sector by proposing to raise insurance caps for bank deposits, now at $100,000. Senators McCain and Obama want it lifted to $250,000. But that could mean raising insurance premiums on the banks.
And what are the local market reaction? Let's go to the Australian Stock Exchange, where Chris Ma has his eye on the big board. Chris, which way did it jump?
Well, Anne, after yesterday's sharp fall in trading in the last hour yesterday, the buyers are back somewhat today, producing a spike. Now, at this morning's opening of the markets, the ASX 200 was up around 3%. It has softened somewhat since then, but generally speaking, the market is far more buoyant than it was yesterday. The financial sector has led the way. The major banks have made some gains. Commonwealth Bank is up 3%, improvements too for the NAB and Westpac. Investment banking has recovered some of the lost ground. Macquarie Bank is up 3%. The Babcock & Brown opened very strongly, up around 20%. BHP Billiton has improved. Also, particularly Rio Tinto is up 6%. But what we're seeing today is what analysts call a corrective bounce in the wake of yesterday's carnage.
All right, thanks very much, Chris. Chris Ma joining us there from the Stock Exchange. Now to our US Bureau, where Mike Amor is ringside at the Wall Street wrestling match. Mike, a good recovery today, but can it be sustained?
Well, not unless a rescue package can be passed by lawmakers and passed quickly. You know, we just had confirmation that the US Senate will vote on the rescue package tomorrow night, so that's some good news. The stock market had a better day today, but the credit market is still broken. Few banks are now lending money, not just for housing or credit cards, but for small businesses, employers. They really are starting to hurt. In fact, 60% of American small businesses are saying we're feeling this. That means restaurants can't use credit to buy food. Car yards aren't selling cars because banks won't finance them. Now, we just heard from President Bush, and he's had a really stark warning for Congress to put pressure on them to take action.
The reality is that we're in an urgent situation, and the consequences will grow worse each day if we do not act.
Now, that's the third appeal in as many days by the President. The trouble is no one is listening. In fact, he's slumped to his lowest ratings ever. In fact, one of the lowest ratings for a leader ever, 27%. One Republican senator was asked by a reporter today, who can help solve this? And he said, the Pope. So some good news today that the US Senate will vote on that rescue package tomorrow night, and that'll put pressure on the House to do the same the following day.
And Mike, I understand America has received some economic advice from a rather unexpected quarter.
Yeah, our mate Russell Crowe isn't short of an opinion, and on late night TV over here, he chimed in on how he thought that this mess could be fixed.
If they want to stimulate the economy, get people spending, let people look after their mortgages, I think you take the first 300 million Americans, if that's the population at this point in time, give everyone $1 million. That would stimulate.
Nice hair, hey? But don't laugh, because that $840 billion rescue package is the equivalent to paying a year's salary for 22 million Americans. And just to underline the sense of panic over here, and there's been a run on home safes as people pull out their life savings, fearful that the banks may collapse. So a real sense of panic.
Oh, to be in America. Mike Haymore in Los Angeles. Thanks very much, Mike. And checking the markets now, the Dow Jones closed up 485. The Nasdaq gained 99. In London, the FTSE is up 84, and Germany's DAX has gained